Tonight, we journey back thousands of years to a land bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. Imagine, if you will, the fertile crescent cradled between the mighty Tigris and Euphrates rivers. This is Mesopotamia, the land where civilization first blossomed, a cradle of human ingenuity and storytelling. And here, amidst the bustling cities and sun-baked fields, whispers of a legend began to circulate, a story etched onto clay tablets passed down through generations. This is the story of Gilgamesh, one of history's oldest surviving works of literature, a tale that has echoed through time, a lullaby of the ages. Picture Gilgamesh, a king of Uruk, 2/3 god and 1/3 man. Imagine his immense strength, his towering figure, his very presence commanding respect, perhaps even a little fear. He was a powerful ruler, but his pride was as vast as his kingdom. The people of Uruk, burdened by his arrogance, cried out to the gods for relief. Their pleas reached the heavens, and a powerful being, Enkidu, a wild man raised by animals, was sent to challenge Gilgamesh. Enkidu, untouched by civilization, was as strong as Gilgamesh, a match for his brute power. Their initial encounter was a legendary clash, a battle of titans that shook the very earth beneath their feet. Yet, from this violent beginning, an unlikely friendship bloomed. Enkidu tamed Gilgamesh's savage nature, showing him the value of compassion and friendship. They embarked on daring adventures together, facing mythical creatures and overcoming impossible odds. Imagine them, side by side, trekking through harsh deserts, their footsteps echoing softly in the stillness of the night. Picture the gleam of their eyes as they gaze at the stars, an endless expanse of celestial wonders above them. They faced Humbaba, a monstrous guardian of a cedar forest, a being whose very breath could wither the land. Their victory, though hard-fought, brought them immense glory and riches. But even amongst their triumphs, the shadow of mortality loomed large. Enkidu, once a force of nature, fell ill, and the inevitable crept closer. His death profoundly impacted Gilgamesh. He witnessed the fragility of life, the fleeting nature of existence, for the first time truly understanding its preciousness. Gripped by grief and a desperate fear of his own mortality, he embarked on a perilous quest for immortality, a journey filled with mythical creatures and treacherous landscapes. He sought out Utnapishtim, a survivor of a great flood, seeking the secret to eternal life. His quest, though ultimately unsuccessful in its primary goal, brought him invaluable knowledge and wisdom. He learned that true immortality lies not in endless life, but in the legacy he leaves behind, the impact he makes on the world around him. The stories of his adventures, etched onto those ancient clay tablets, would live on, carrying his name and his lessons across millennia. And as you drift off to sleep, let the whispers of Gilgamesh's journey soothe you, a testament to the enduring power of storytelling, a timeless echo from the land between two rivers. Let the ancient tale lull you gently into the quiet embrace of slumber. In the ancient land of Mesopotamia, nestled beside the mighty Euphrates, stood the city of Uruk, and within its walls lived Gilgamesh, a king unlike any other. Imagine him, if you will, a figure of immense power, his very presence commanding attention. 2/3 god, they said, 2/3 man. a being of extraordinary strength, his muscles rippling beneath bronze skin tanned by the relentless desert sun. He was a powerful warrior, unmatched in battle, his legend whispered on the wind across the plains. But Gilgamesh's power was not tempered by wisdom. Oh no, his strength was matched only by his arrogance. He saw himself as above the ordinary people, his will the only law that mattered. The citizens of Uruk, though they admired his strength, lived in fear of his capricious nature. Their lives were dictated by his whims, their work unending to feed his endless desires. Picture the sun setting over Uruk, casting long shadows across the ziggurats. The people, weary from their labors, would return to their simple homes, their hearts heavy with the weight of their king's demands. He demanded the finest silks, the rarest spices, and the most skilled artisans, all for his own pleasure. He took whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, showing little regard for the consequences. Think of the young women, their laughter silenced by the fear of his unwanted advances. Imagine the craftsmen, their hands calloused and worn, toiling day and night to fulfill his extravagant requests, their families left to go hungry. Gilgamesh's pride was a wall, a fortress built of his own arrogance, separating him from his people and blinding him to their suffering. He saw them as mere instruments to serve his ambitions, not as individuals with hopes and dreams of their own. The air in Uruk, normally alive with the bustle of a thriving city, often felt suffocated, weighed down by the king's oppressive presence. The songs of the people were muted, replaced by a pervasive sense of anxiety. The very stones of the city seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the inevitable moment of his displeasure. Even the mighty Euphrates, flowing steadily past the city walls, seemed to mirror the heavy atmosphere, its current a slow, relentless march towards an uncertain future. But even for a king as strong and as seemingly invincible as Gilgamesh, change was coming, a change that would challenge his pride and force him to confront the consequences of his actions. Let the image of Uruk under Gilgamesh's reign settle gently in your mind, a reminder of the cost of unchecked power. And now, drift off to sleep. The sun beat down on the city of Uruk, but it offered little warmth. A heavy blanket of despair settled over the land. The great city, usually bustling with life and the sounds of creation, was choked with a different kind of noise now, the mournful cries of its people. They were weary, their backs bent under the weight of Gilgamesh's reign. The king, strong and proud, ruled with an iron fist, demanding ceaseless labor, taking what he wished, and showing little regard for the suffering of his subjects. Their pleas rose up, carried on the wind, towards the heavens. Each whispered prayer, each desperate wail, formed a tapestry of sorrow woven from the threads of their hardship. They called upon the gods, their voices raspy with exhaustion and desperation, begging for mercy, for relief, for a change to their unending toil. They spoke of their aching bodies, their empty bellies, and the dimming hope in their hearts. The city, usually a vibrant testament to human achievement, had become a symbol of their suffering. The very stones seemed to weep with them, their ancient surfaces dulled by the weight of collective sorrow. The gods, in their celestial realm, heard the collective cry. The earth trembled slightly, a silent response to the intensity of the people's grief. A hush fell over the heavens, followed by a soft, celestial humming. It was a sound of creation, of change, of hope taking root in the despair. Far from the city walls, in the untamed wilderness, a different kind of life flourished. Lush green valleys met with rugged mountains, their peaks piercing the sky like the fingers of giants. Here, untouched by the demands of civilization, lived the animals, wild and free. Among them roamed a creature unlike any other, a being born not of human hands, but of the very earth itself. He was Enkidu, a wild man, his skin tanned by the sun, his hair thick and long, like the untamed grasses that grew around him. He moved with the grace of a panther, his strength rivaling that of a bull. He knew the language of the birds, the whispers of the wind, the secrets held by the ancient trees. He shared the waterholes with the gazelles, slept beneath the watchful gaze of the stars, and understood the rhythms of nature as if they were written upon his heart. He was untamed, free from the constraints of societal rules and expectations, living a life in harmony with the wild. The animals were his friends, his family, his protectors in the vast, untamed land. He knew no fear, nor did he grasp the concept of oppression, only the simple existence of living and breathing in the boundless expanse of nature's embrace. But even in his isolated existence, a change was stirring. The whispers of the people's pleas reached him through the rustling leaves and the sighing winds. The earth itself, a part of his being, felt the weight of their sorrow. It was as if the very fabric of the world was calling for a shift, a change, a chance for balance to be restored. And so, Enkidu, a product of nature's raw power, began to feel a stirring within himself, a gentle call to action, a path towards the cries he heard carried on the wind. He was unaware of what awaited him, of the city, and of the destiny that lay ahead, a destiny intertwined with the fate of Uruk and its suffering people. Imagine the vast, open plains of ancient Mesopotamia. Picture a wild man, Enkidu, strong and untamed, living among the beasts. He knew only the rhythms of nature, the untamed freedom of the wilderness. His body was as powerful as a wild bull, his spirit as free as the wind. But he was alone, a creature apart from the bustling lives of humans. Then, one day, a hunter encountered him. He spoke of Uruk, a great city brimming with life, a place of intricate structures, bustling markets, and the sounds of human voices, sounds Enkidu had never truly heard before. The hunter spoke of Gilgamesh, its king, a powerful figure, both admired and feared. But he also spoke of Shamhat, a temple prostitute, a woman whose beauty and grace were legendary, a woman who held a unique position within Uruk's society. Intrigued, perhaps even a little afraid, Enkidu followed the hunter to the edge of the city. He watched from afar, observing the strange and compelling rhythm of human life. He saw the intricate patterns of the city walls, the organized chaos of the marketplace, the steady rhythm of work and daily life. It was a world utterly different from his own. Shamhat, it was said, had the power to tame the wild, and so she was sent to meet him. Picture her approaching Enkidu, not with fear or aggression, but with a quiet confidence. She wasn't a warrior, but her presence carried a strength of its own. She shared food and drink with him, the flavors a stark contrast to the simple fare of the wilderness. She spoke to him, not in harsh commands, but with gentle words, weaving stories of the city, of the complexities and the joys of human relationships. She didn't force her way into his world. Instead, she offered a glimpse into hers, a slow, patient invitation to discover a new way of being. Over several days, she shared her world with him, her life slowly intertwining with his untamed spirit. She showed him the beauty of human connection, the comfort of shared meals, and the satisfaction of working together towards a common goal. She revealed the intricate dance between independence and community, demonstrating that belonging didn't mean losing oneself. He learned of friendship, of love, and of the complex tapestry of emotions that bind humans together. He learned the satisfaction of creating something lasting, of building and nurturing, a stark contrast to the simple survival instincts that had guided his life before. The days spent with Shamhat were a gentle awakening, a slow and steady metamorphosis. His wild spirit didn't disappear, but it was softened, shaped, guided towards a new understanding. He began to understand human customs, the subtle interplay of power and compassion within Uruk's walls. As the days turned into weeks, Enkidu's transformation was complete. Not a sudden change, but a gradual unfolding. He was still powerful, still wild at heart, but now he understood the world of humans, their desires, their fears, and their capacity for both incredible cruelty and profound kindness. He was ready to step into the human world, and in doing so, he was ready to meet Gilgamesh. The stage was set for a friendship forged in the fires of both wildness and civilization, a bond that would shape the destinies of both men. And as you drift off to sleep, remember the gentle touch of civilization, slowly shaping the wild heart of Enkidu. The Mesopotamian sun beat down on the dusty plains. Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, a man of incredible strength and even more incredible pride, stood silhouetted against the shimmering heat haze. He'd conquered many challenges, faced down countless foes, but a deep restlessness gnawed at him. He needed something more. Then he met Enkidu. Enkidu, a wild man raised amongst the beasts, possessed a strength that rivaled even Gilgamesh's own. He was untamed, a creature of the wilderness, his heart as free as the wind that whipped across the steppes. Their meeting was a clash of titans, a wrestling match under the scorching sun, a test of will and muscle. But from that initial struggle, a surprising understanding bloomed. They saw in each other not an enemy, but a reflection, a kindred spirit. The bond between them, forged in sweat and exertion, was more than just respect. It was a deep and abiding friendship, a shared understanding of the thirst for something beyond the mundane. Their adventures began almost immediately. They faced the monstrous Humbaba, guardian of the Cedar Forest, a being whose very breath could wither life. The journey was long and arduous, fraught with peril. They navigated treacherous terrain, faced scorching deserts and shadowy forests, relying on their combined strength and cunning. Enkidu's wild instincts proved invaluable, his understanding of the natural world guiding them through the most dangerous landscapes. Gilgamesh, ever the leader, used his strategic mind and regal authority to navigate the more political challenges that arose. Together, they faced Humbaba. The battle was long and fierce, the air thick with the monster's terrifying roars. But their combined might prevailed. They fought with a harmony born of trust and shared purpose. The echoes of their victory resonated through the ancient forest, a testament to their friendship and courage. After Humbaba fell, their quest continued. They journeyed to distant lands, seeking the secrets of immortality, a yearning that echoed in both their hearts. They faced the goddess Ishtar, powerful and alluring, who offered Gilgamesh her hand. But he refused, understanding the price of such a union, the potential loss of his freedom and his deep connection with Enkidu. Their journey through the underworld, a chilling descent into darkness, was perhaps their greatest trial. They faced trials that tested their resilience, their strength, their very bond. It was a journey into the depths of their own souls, a descent into the shadows that illuminated their profound connection. Though they ultimately failed to achieve true immortality, their journey transformed them. They learned the value of friendship, the beauty of the mortal world, and the importance of embracing life's fleeting moments. Their legend lives on, a whisper on the wind, a reminder that even the greatest heroes are defined not just by their strength, but by the strength of their bonds and the adventures they share. The sun begins to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. Sleep now and dream of their epic journey. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of cedar and damp earth. Ahead, the forest loomed, a wall of ancient trees reaching towards the heavens, their branches tangled like the limbs of some slumbering giant. This was the domain of Humbaba, a creature born of the earth itself, a guardian of immense power. You felt the weight of the journey, the anticipation clinging to you like the morning mist. Gilgamesh, strong and brave, but also burdened by his own mortality, felt it too. Enkidu, his friend, his equal, stood beside him, his hand resting on the hilt of his axe, a comforting weight in the quiet. The first sounds were subtle, the rustle of unseen creatures in the undergrowth, the creak of ancient branches swaying in a breeze that carried the whispers of forgotten ages. Then the ground began to tremble, a low, thrumming vibration that resonated deep within your chest. It grew steadily louder, a tremor that shifted into a roar, the sound of something vast and terrible awakening. The forest itself seemed to recoil, the trees bowing low as Humbaba emerged. He was not simply a man made large, but something primal and terrifying, a mountain of muscle and sinew sculpted from earth and shadow. His eyes blazed with a malevolent fire, his breath a storm of wind and dust. The very air crackled with his power. Gilgamesh stepped forward, his own fear a cold knot in his stomach, but his resolve unwavering. His bronze axe, a reflection of the setting sun, gleamed in his hand, a symbol of defiance against the looming darkness. Enkidu followed, his own weapon held steady. The clash of bronze on monstrous hide echoed through the forest, a rhythmic percussion to the battle that was beginning. The sounds were not gentle now, they were the sounds of a struggle against an ancient force. Each blow of Gilgamesh's axe was a testament to his strength. But Humbaba was relentless, his roars shaking the very foundations of the forest. Enkidu fought with the agility of a wild beast, his axe flashing like lightning in the gathering gloom. The air filled with the sounds of the conflict, the metallic clang of weapons, the tearing of flesh, the guttural roars of the beast, punctuated by the gasps and grunts of the heroes. The very trees seemed to shudder, their leaves trembling like frightened birds. The battle raged for what felt like an eternity, a brutal dance between courage and primal power. You could almost feel the weight of each blow, the searing pain of each wound. Yet, through the din of combat, a quiet determination remained. Gilgamesh and Enkidu, though weary and wounded, continued to fight. Their friendship a bond stronger than any weapon. The sounds gradually shifted. The violent clang lessened, replaced by the heavier, thudding impact of exhausted blows. Slowly, Humbaba's roars weakened, his mighty form beginning to falter. The earth, which had once trembled at his approach, now seemed to sigh in relief. Finally, with a last desperate bellow, the monstrous guardian fell, his immense body collapsing into the soft earth. Silence descended, heavy and profound, broken only by the gentle rustle of the wind through the ancient cedars. The battle was won, but the echoes of the struggle lingered, a testament to the courage of the two heroes who had faced down the heart of darkness. The forest, now calm, whispered a lullaby of victory, cradling you into a peaceful slumber. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the Mesopotamian plains. Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, and his friend Enkidu stood at the edge of the Cedar Forest. It was a place of immense beauty, a place whispered about in hushed tones. Towering trees, older than any human memory, stretched towards the heavens, their branches intertwined like the fingers of ancient gods. The air hummed with a quiet energy, a sense of sacredness that settled deep in the bones. These weren't just trees, they were the very heartwood of the land, imbued with a power that resonated through the earth. They were also a challenge, a test of might, perhaps, or even a dare whispered by the gods themselves. Gilgamesh, ever ambitious, ever seeking to prove his strength, saw the forest not as a place of reverence, but as an obstacle to overcome. Enkidu, though strong and loyal, found himself swept along by the king's relentless drive. They had come seeking glory, seeking to carve their names into the very fabric of legend. They had heard tales of Humbaba, guardian of the forest, a monstrous being whose power was as vast as the trees themselves. But the felling of the cedars, the very act of deforestation, was perhaps a greater transgression. Picture it, the glint of polished axes under the setting sun, the rhythmic thud of steel against wood, the slow, deliberate fall of ancient giants. Each tree, as it crashed to the earth, sent tremors through the forest, a sound like a groan of immense sorrow. It wasn't just the noise, though. It was a feeling, a palpable shift in the air. The very essence of the forest seemed to weep. The cedars weren't merely felled, they were violated. As the trees fell, so too did the quiet peace of the forest. The sacred grove, once a sanctuary, was now a battleground. The air once filled with the murmur of nature, now echoed with the sounds of destruction, the splintering of wood, the cries of birds startled from their nests, the frustrated roars of Humbaba himself as he sensed the violation of his ancient domain. It was a chaotic symphony, a harsh counterpoint to the serene beauty that had existed before. You could almost feel the earth trembling under the weight of their actions. With each fallen cedar, the symbolic power shifted. The strength that Gilgamesh and Enkidu displayed in their physical feats was juxtaposed against the growing sense of unease that permeated the atmosphere. They were felling more than just trees. They were felling the very balance of nature, a reckless act that foreshadowed the challenges and sorrows that would soon beset them. It was a hubristic act of defiance, a challenge to the order of the world, a transgression that echoed across the ages and would have consequences far beyond the immediate. The falling trees were not just timber. They were the threads of fate unraveling, a premonition of the trials yet to come. The quiet whisper of the forest, once soothing and peaceful, now held the hushed warning of a looming storm. And as the last of the sun's rays faded, you might have heard, if you had been there, the faintest sigh of the wounded earth. The air in Uruk hung heavy, thick with the unspoken tension between the goddess Ishtar and the king Gilgamesh. Ishtar, radiant in her celestial beauty, had offered Gilgamesh her hand, a union that would have bound the mortal realm to the divine. But Gilgamesh, remembering the fates of those who had loved the goddess before him, had refused. He politely declined, his voice soft but firm, recounting the tales of Ishtar's past lovers, a shepherd turned into a wolf, a gardener transformed into a bird, a lion, a stallion, each a testament to the capriciousness of her affections, each a chilling warning. Ishtar's pride, usually a shimmering flame, was now a raging inferno. The rejection stung, not just as a personal slight, but as a challenge to her divine power. How dare a mortal, a mere man, refuse the advances of a goddess? Her anger, a tempest in her heart, rolled outward, darkening the very sky above Uruk. The sun dimmed, a pale imitation of its usual warmth. The city's usual lively hum faded, replaced by a low, ominous drone. The ground trembled. A deep, guttural bellow shook the very foundations of Uruk's walls. It wasn't a sound of earth or wind, but something ancient, something primal, something utterly terrifying. From the distant horizon, a shadow moved. It grew, consuming the fading light, until a monstrous form materialized against the darkening sky. This was the Bull of Heaven, a creature of immense power, sent by Ishtar as an instrument of her vengeful wrath. Its horns were like jagged mountains, its eyes burned with malevolent fury, and its hooves thundered as it advanced upon the city. Dust billowed in its wake, a swirling vortex of destruction that choked the air. The fear in the city was palpable, a silent scream trapped within the hearts of its people. They watched in helpless terror as this colossal beast lumbered towards their homes, towards their lives. The bull's breath was a scorching wind. Its hooves cracked the earth, leaving deep fissures in the ground. Buildings shuddered under its weight, the cries of the people a mournful counterpoint to its devastating advance. Gilgamesh, however, stood firm, his resolve unshaken. He knew this was not a battle against flesh and blood, but against the wrath of a goddess, a fight for the very survival of Uruk. But sleep now. Rest easily, knowing even the fiercest storms eventually pass, leaving behind a tranquil sky and the quiet strength of a city standing strong. Let the calmness settle over you as peacefully as the dust settles after the passage of the Bull of Heaven, and dream of a quieter dawn. The story continues, but for now, let the gentle sounds of your breath guide you into a peaceful sleep. The sun, a molten coin sinking below the horizon, cast long shadows across the plains. Gilgamesh, his powerful frame weary, watched Enkidu beside him. They had journeyed far, faced monstrous creatures, and tasted victory. But the gods, those distant, powerful beings, were not pleased with their hubris, their bold defiance of the natural order. A subtle shift had occurred, a quiet change in the air, almost imperceptible at first. A slight tremor in Enkidu's normally strong hands, a flicker of unusual weariness in his eyes. It started small, a stiffness in his joints, a persistent low ache that no amount of rest seemed to alleviate. He, who had wrestled lions and toppled giants, now found himself struggling to rise from the ground. The vibrant energy that always thrummed within him began to fade, like a flickering candle in a gentle breeze. Gilgamesh, ever stoic, felt a creeping dread begin to blossom within his chest. He had faced death in many forms, but this was different. This was a slow, creeping darkness that stole the light from his friend's eyes, extinguishing his boisterous laughter, silencing his powerful voice. The boundless strength that had once been their shield was now melting away like snow in the spring sun. Enkidu's illness was a punishment, a divine retribution for their transgressions. The gods, though silent in their pronouncements, had spoken through this devastating affliction. Each passing day brought a fresh wave of despair for Gilgamesh as he watched his friend's once powerful body succumb to a relentless, unseen foe. He had faced the bull of heaven, had confronted Humbaba, yet this insidious disease proved to be a more formidable opponent. The once vibrant plains felt bleak and empty, the sun's warmth failing to penetrate the chilling cloud of grief settling over Gilgamesh's soul. He ministered to Enkidu with unwavering devotion, bathing him, feeding him, whispering stories of their adventures, hoping to somehow hold back the relentless tide of death. But the gods remained implacable, their judgment unwavering. Enkidu's breaths grew shallower, his powerful frame shrinking, his vibrant laughter reduced to mere gasps. He spoke little, but his gaze, whenever he could muster the strength, held a serene acceptance, a quiet understanding of the inevitable. He looked at Gilgamesh with eyes full of love and a quiet forgiveness for their shared past. There was a gentleness in his weakening grasp, a silent reassurance. Then, under the soft light of a fading moon, Enkidu breathed his last. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by Gilgamesh's ragged sobs, a raw, primal grief that echoed across the desolate landscape. The world seemed to tilt on its axis, its vibrant colors muted to shades of gray. Enkidu's death was a chasm, a gaping wound in Gilgamesh's heart. He held his friend's lifeless hand, and in that moment he felt, for the first time, the profound terror of his own mortality. The unstoppable march of time, the inevitability of death, was no longer an abstract concept, but a brutal, agonizing reality. The invincible hero was shaken to his core. His heart, once filled with reckless adventure, now ached with unbearable sorrow. The night was long, the silence profound, and the weight of loss immeasurable. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the plains of Uruk. Gilgamesh, king of a mighty city, felt a chill deeper than the desert night. Enkidu, his dearest friend, his brother in arms, was gone. Death, that silent thief, had stolen him away, leaving a void in Gilgamesh's heart, a chasm that echoed with the hollowness of mortality. He had seen death before, of course. The skirmishes and battles had claimed many lives. But this was different. This was the death of a bond as strong as the mountains, as deep as the Euphrates. His own reflection in the still water of a nearby pool was a stranger to him. The powerful king, celebrated for his strength and prowess, looked weary, his eyes shadowed with a sorrow that seemed to weigh down his very bones. The fear that had only whispered before now roared in his ears, the fear of his own inevitable end. He was a king, yes, but even kings must die. The thought was unbearable, a bitter pill he could not swallow. And so Gilgamesh, fueled by grief and a desperate yearning for something beyond the reach of death, made a decision. He would seek out Utnapishtim. Legends spoke of him, a mortal man granted immortality by the gods, a survivor of a great flood that swept away the world. This man, this legend, held the key to Gilgamesh's desperate hope. His journey began under the pale light of the moon. He walked for days, his strong legs carrying him across scorching sands and treacherous mountains. He faced wild beasts, their growls and snarls a faint counterpoint to the turmoil in his heart. He met with strange peoples, their customs and languages unlike anything he had ever encountered, their stories adding to the tapestry of his quest. Each sunrise brought new challenges, each sunset a reminder of the fleeting nature of time, the very thing he was trying to conquer. He traversed cedar forests, ancient and imposing, their towering trees whispering secrets of ages past. He crossed rivers, their currents strong and relentless, mirroring the tumultuous currents of his own emotions. He climbed mountains, their peaks scraping the sky, reflecting his ambition to reach heights beyond human comprehension. The path was arduous, filled with perils both physical and mental. Doubt gnawed at him, whispering insidious thoughts that questioned the very possibility of his quest. But the memory of Enkidu's lifeless form, the ache in his heart, kept him moving forward, pushing him onward towards the legendary Utnapishtim. He walked on, driven by an almost desperate need to find solace, to find something, anything, to hold on to beyond the ephemeral nature of life. The endless horizon stretched before him, mirroring the endless expanse of his grief and his yearning for immortality. The journey was long, but his hope, however faint, burned still, a tiny flame against the vast darkness of his despair. The sun beat down on Gilgamesh's shoulders, the heat shimmering off the endless sands. His journey west felt as boundless as the desert itself. He'd left his city, Uruk, a long time ago now, the memory of its towering walls fading with each step. He walked, not with the quick pace of a warrior, but with the steady, deliberate gait of a traveler on a long, arduous path. Beside him, Enkidu, his loyal friend, matched his pace, their footsteps a rhythmic whisper in the vast silence. The desert tested them. Days bled into weeks, marked only by the shifting dunes and the relentless sun. Thirst gnawed at them constantly, a persistent companion that forced them to seek out scarce oases, where the water tasted like a gift from the gods themselves. Nights brought a different kind of hardship, the cold bite of the desert wind and the unsettling cries of unseen creatures in the darkness, creatures whose shadows danced at the edge of their firelight. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sand in hues of orange and purple, they stumbled upon a monstrous scorpion, its claws the size of daggers, its tail a wicked curve of venom. Enkidu, quick and brave, sprang forward, his spear deflecting the scorpion's attack. The fight was fierce but short, the scorpion's venom a danger they couldn't afford to ignore. But they prevailed, their victory a small triumph in the face of such overwhelming vastness. Further on, they encountered the Humbaba, guardian of the Cedar Forest. A being of immense size and terrifying power, his roars shook the very ground beneath their feet. The air hung heavy with the scent of cedar and something ancient, something primal. The battle was long and exhausting, a test of their strength, courage, and the bond between them. They fought not with reckless abandon, but with a measured strategy, their movements precise and determined, until finally the guardian fell. They felt the weight of their victory, a burden of both triumph and sorrow, in the stillness that followed. The Cedar Forest itself was a labyrinth, a world of towering trees and shadowy depths. Strange birds with iridescent feathers flitted through the branches, their songs echoing like whispers through the ancient woods. And there were other creatures too, creatures of myth and legend, whose forms shifted and changed before their eyes. Creatures they simply watched, knowing that sometimes the best course of action was to observe and to avoid rather than to conquer. Their journey continued relentlessly onward. Each day brought new challenges, new landscapes, new encounters. The mountains loomed before them, jagged peaks piercing the sky, their summits lost in the clouds. Rivers snaked through valleys, their waters reflecting the weary faces of the travelers as they passed. Every sunrise brought a fresh test of their endurance, every sunset a gentle lull before the next trial. The journey west, it seemed, would never truly end, only transform, each new challenge forging them into something more resilient, something more enduring with every step they took. And as the stars appeared each night, they provided a silent comfort, a constant guide in their unending quest. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the plains of Mesopotamia. Utnapishtim, his beard long and white as the river reeds, sat beside the flickering fire, its gentle crackle a comforting sound in the gathering dusk. Gilgamesh, weary from his travels, listened intently. He'd sought Utnapishtim, the only mortal granted immortality, to learn the secret of eternal life. But Utnapishtim spoke not of elixirs or hidden springs, but of a flood, a cataclysmic event that reshaped the world. He began his tale slowly, his voice a low murmur against the night sounds. The gods, in their council, decided that humankind had become too noisy, too violent, too much. Their hearts were filled with wickedness, their actions echoing with destruction. Enlil, the god of wind and storms, proposed a terrible solution: to cleanse the earth with a great flood. Utnapishtim described the days leading up to the deluge. A strange unease settled over the land, a feeling of impending doom. Animals grew restless, the birds cried out in distress, and even the river seemed to whisper warnings. Then Ea, the god of wisdom, appeared to Utnapishtim in a dream. He revealed the coming catastrophe and instructed him to build a great vessel, a boat large enough to hold his family, his possessions, and every living creature. It was a monumental task, Utnapishtim continued, his voice barely a whisper. Days bled into weeks, weeks into months. The sounds of hammers and saws filled the air, a counterpoint to the growing dread in our hearts. We worked tirelessly, driven by a primal need to survive. We gathered the animals, two by two, each creature a silent testament to the impending doom. The rain began as a gentle drizzle, a soft weeping of the heavens, but soon it intensified, transforming into a torrential downpour, the likes of which the world had never seen. The rivers swelled, the land submerged, and the world became a vast churning ocean. The storm raged for days, the wind howling like a banshee, the rain a relentless assault. Utnapishtim described the fear, the terror, the sheer immensity of the water, swallowing everything in its path. For 6 days and 7 nights the storm raged, he said, his gaze fixed on the flickering flames. Then, slowly, gradually, the waters began to recede. The vessel, battered but afloat, came to rest on the peak of a mountain. We waited, hearts pounding, until the sun broke through the clouds, casting a pale light on a world reborn, washed clean, and strangely silent. Utnapishtim released the animals one by one, sending them forth to repopulate the ravaged land. He offered a sacrifice to the gods, a gesture of gratitude and repentance. The gods, witnessing his piety and his survival, granted him immortality, a reward for his obedience and his faith. He concluded his tale, a long silence hanging in the air, before Gilgamesh finally spoke, his voice heavy with the weight of the story. The fire crackled, a gentle lullaby for the sleeping world, a world forever changed by the flood, yet still vibrant and full of life. And in the quiet of the night, the tale of Utnapishtim, a whisper of survival and renewal. The journey had been long, arduous, and filled with perils, but Gilgamesh, weary yet resolute, finally stood before Utnapishtim, the ancient one who had survived the great flood. The air hung heavy with the scent of ancient earth and distant seas, a comforting perfume in the twilight of this extraordinary encounter. Utnapishtim, his eyes like pools reflecting a timeless wisdom, spoke in a low, murmuring voice, his words like the gentle lapping of waves against a shore. He told Gilgamesh of a plant, a flower growing deep in the ocean's depths, a plant that held the secret to eternal life. Imagine it, a vibrant bloom pulsing with an inner light, its petals unfurling like promises whispered on the breeze. It wasn't a plant of vibrant colors, no, it was more subtle, a soft, almost shimmering green, with a gentle luminescence that seemed to emanate from within, as if holding the very essence of the sun itself. Utnapishtim described its location, a place where the waters ran deep and dark, a place that tested even the bravest heart. Gilgamesh, his heart stirred by hope after so much despair, listened intently. The thought of escaping death, of extending his life beyond the mortal coil, was a powerful lure. He dove into the ocean's depths, a journey that felt both endless and strangely fleeting. The pressure intensified, the darkness pressing in, but the image of the plant, its ethereal glow, guided him onward. He felt the coolness of the water against his skin, the pressure a gentle embrace rather than a threat. And there it was, nestled amongst the rocks, a beacon in the abyss, the plant of rejuvenation. Its beauty was breathtaking, a testament to the enduring power of life, even in the most challenging of environments. It pulsed with a quiet energy, a gentle hum that resonated within Gilgamesh himself. Carefully, reverently, he plucked the plant from its rocky cradle. The water around him seemed to sigh, as if acknowledging the momentousness of the act. He ascended, slowly, carefully, his prize clutched tightly in his hand. The journey back was less daunting, propelled by the promise held within his grasp. He emerged from the water, the sun warming his skin, the scent of salt and earth filling his lungs. He felt a sense of accomplishment, a quiet triumph that washed over him like the tide retreating from the shore. But the journey back to his homeland was not without his trials. The relentless sun beat down on Gilgamesh. The waters, once his ally, now held only the threat of thirst. And then a snake, a creature of immense size and ancient wisdom. It slithered toward the plant, its scales gleaming in the sunlight, and it consumed it in a single swift movement. Before Gilgamesh could react, the plant, the key to eternal life, was gone. The snake, having gained immortality from the plant, slithered away into the shadows. Gilgamesh watched, utterly defeated. The weight of mortality pressed upon him again, heavy and unavoidable. The shimmering light of hope faded, replaced by the quiet acceptance of a finite existence. Yet, in this acceptance, in the stillness of his loss, perhaps he found a different kind of peace, a different kind of understanding. The long journey, the search, the fleeting hope, they too became part of the tapestry of his life, a rich thread woven into the grand design of existence. And as he lay down to rest, he could feel the gentle embrace of the earth, the quiet rhythm of the universe carrying him into his sleep. The journey had changed him, etched lines of wisdom onto his face, not the lines of bitterness he'd expected, but those of quiet understanding. Gilgamesh, once driven by a desperate hunger for immortality, now stepped back into the city of Uruk with a different gait, a slower, more deliberate pace. The sun, setting in a blaze of orange and purple, cast long shadows across the familiar streets. He was home, yet he felt profoundly altered. He no longer stared at the ziggurat with longing, a monument to the gods and a constant reminder of his own mortality. Instead, he saw it as a testament to the enduring power of human endeavor, a legacy built by countless hands over generations. The bustling marketplace, once a source of frustration as he chased fleeting pleasure, now resonated with a hum of life that filled him with a gentle contentment. He saw the children playing, their laughter echoing through the narrow alleyways, and felt a warmth spread through him, a feeling far more profound than any elixir of immortality could ever provide. His heart, once consumed by the selfish desire for unending life, now ached with a different kind of longing, a desire to leave behind something meaningful, something lasting. He remembered the Cedar Forest, its majestic trees standing tall, a testament to the passage of time. He thought of the bull of heaven, its destructive power, and the ultimate fragility of even the mightiest creatures. These weren't just memories, they were lessons etched into the very fabric of his being. He walked the walls of Uruk, once patrolling them with a warrior's fierce intensity, now surveying them with a king's thoughtful gaze. He saw the city not as a kingdom to control, but as a community to nurture. The people, once subjects to his often tyrannical rule, now looked at him with a mixture of respect and curiosity. He had brought them hardship, yes, but he had also learned from his mistakes, and that learning shaped the way he interacted with them. He began to build, not palaces of power, but structures that served the people. Irrigation systems, sturdy homes, temples dedicated not just to the gods, but to the collective spirit of the city. He chronicled his journey, not to boast of his exploits, but to share the lessons he had learned, to pass on a wisdom that transcended the physical realm. He spoke of his quest for immortality not as a failure, but as a necessary pilgrimage. It was a path that led him not to endless life, but to a profound appreciation for its finite nature. He understood now that true immortality wasn't about cheating death, but about living a life of purpose, a life that resonated with meaning. His legacy would not be carved in stone, but woven into the tapestry of Uruk's history, into the hearts and minds of its people. And as he slept, under the quiet, watchful stars, he knew that this was a kind of immortality he could embrace, a quiet and enduring echo in the grand symphony of time. The sunset painted the sky, soft hues lulling him to sleep, a sleep filled not with dreams of unending life, but with the gentle peace of acceptance and the quiet comfort of a life well lived. Long ago, in a land bathed in the golden light of the Mesopotamian sun, lived Gilgamesh, a king of incredible strength and power. He was 2/3 god, 1/3 man, and his legend, etched onto clay tablets thousands of years ago, still whispers to us across the ages. Imagine him, if you will, a towering figure, his muscles rippling beneath his sun-baked skin, his eyes reflecting the vastness of the desert sky. He ruled Uruk, a city that bustled with life, yet his heart felt strangely empty. He was strong, yes, but loneliness, a heavy cloak, weighed upon him. Then came Enkidu, a wild man raised by animals, untamed and free. Their meeting was a clash of worlds, a king and a wild man, a powerful ruler and a creature of nature. But from this clash a profound friendship bloomed. Enkidu, with his gentle heart and unwavering loyalty, became Gilgamesh's closest companion, a balm to his lonely soul. Together they faced terrifying beasts, Humbaba, the guardian of the Cedar Forest, and even the bull of heaven, sent by the gods themselves as punishment for Gilgamesh's pride. Their adventures echo through the years, a testament to the strength found in unity and the bonds that can forge even the most unlikely of friends. But the sands of time, relentlessly shifting, carried with them a cruel truth: mortality. Enkidu, the wild man, the steadfast friend, grew ill, and his life, vibrant and full of energy just moments before, ebbed away. Gilgamesh watched, helpless, as his dearest companion slipped into the stillness of death. This loss, profound and unshakable, shattered Gilgamesh's world. The fear of death, once a distant echo, now roared in his ears, a terrifying and inescapable truth. The death of Enkidu shook Gilgamesh to his very core. His grief, raw and untamed, became a driving force, a quest for immortality. He embarked on a perilous journey, seeking the secret to eternal life, traversing dangerous lands and encountering mythical creatures. He sought out Utnapishtim, a survivor of a great flood, a man granted immortality by the gods. But the answer he received was not the one he craved. Immortality, Utnapishtim revealed, was not a gift to be found, but a lesson to be learned. Gilgamesh's journey wasn't about conquering death. It was about finding meaning in life's fleeting moments. He returned to Uruk, his perspective forever changed. The weight of his grief had not vanished, but it was now tempered by a new understanding. The memory of Enkidu's friendship, a beacon in the darkness, lit his way, reminding him of the value of the bonds he had shared, the love he had known, and the beauty of a life lived fully, even if it were finite. The echoes of their friendship, their adventures, their laughter, became his immortality, a legacy etched not in stone, but in the hearts of those who would hear his story. And so the Epic of Gilgamesh continues to speak to us, whispering of friendship, reminding us of loss, of the inevitability of death, and the preciousness of life, whispering the quiet strength of love. Let these thoughts drift through your mind as you drift off to sleep. Breathe deeply and rest peacefully. And so the dust settles on the plains of ancient Mesopotamia. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, much as it did millennia ago when Gilgamesh walked the earth. His tale, a whisper on the wind, carries the weight of centuries, yet remains strangely familiar. We've journeyed with him, haven't we? Through cedar forests and monstrous battles, through the depths of despair and the heights of friendship. His story isn't just a collection of heroic feats, though those are certainly present. It's a reflection, a mirror held up to the human condition. Think for a moment about Enkidu, his wild, untamed companion. Their bond, forged in the crucible of adventure, teaches us the profound importance of connection. We crave companionship, a shared journey through life's complexities. Enkidu's death, a poignant reminder of our own mortality, leaves a hollow space in Gilgamesh's heart, a space that echoes the emptiness we all experience with loss. It's a sorrow that transcends time and culture. The quest for immortality, Gilgamesh's driving force, reveals a universal longing. We all seek something beyond our fleeting existence, something that whispers of permanence. Gilgamesh's journey, though ultimately unsuccessful in achieving literal immortality, achieves something far more profound. His experiences, his trials, and his transformations become his legacy, woven into the very fabric of his story. It's a different kind of immortality, a testament to the enduring power of human spirit. The Cedar Forest, with its towering trees and the monstrous Humbaba who guarded them, symbolizes the challenges we face throughout our lives. These aren't always physical battles. They are the inner struggles, the anxieties, and the doubts that shape our individual journeys. Gilgamesh confronts these challenges, sometimes faltering, sometimes succeeding, but always learning. His struggles are our struggles, mirrored in the ancient text, whispered across the millennia. Ishtar's rejection, her fury at his refusal, speaks to the complexities of human relationships. Love, desire, and rejection are all parts of the tapestry of life, experiences that resonate deeply within us. Gilgamesh's rejection of her immortal power shows his growing understanding that true fulfillment lies not in external validation, but in the intrinsic value of life itself. He learned to appreciate the present moment. And then there's Utnapishtim, the survivor of the Great Flood, a figure who embodies resilience and the wisdom born of experience. Utnapishtim's story, nested within Gilgamesh's, further reinforces the cyclical nature of life and death, of creation and destruction. It is a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable devastation, life finds a way to endure, to adapt, and to renew itself. As the echoes of Gilgamesh's journey fade into the quiet of the night, let the weight of his story settle gently upon you. It's a story of friendship, loss, adventure, and the eternal search for meaning. It's a story that whispers to us across time, a reminder that even in our own individual lives, the echoes of ancient wisdom resonate, guiding us, comforting us as we drift off to sleep. Let the peace of the ancient night settle over you, and may your dreams be filled with the gentle wisdom of the ages. The sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the plains of ancient Mesopotamia. Imagine, if you will, a time long ago, a world where towering ziggurats scraped the sky and the Euphrates River flowed like liquid silver. In this world lived Gilgamesh, a king of Uruk, a city famed for its walls and its mysteries. He was strong, powerful, perhaps even a little arrogant in his youth, but Gilgamesh was also human, deeply human. He knew joy, of course, the camaraderie of his friend Enkidu, a wild man tamed by love and friendship, fills the tapestry of his life with vibrant threads of laughter and shared adventures. They faced monstrous beasts together, their courage a beacon in the face of danger. They stood shoulder to shoulder against Humbaba, the guardian of the Cedar Forest, a creature born of shadow and fear. Think of their laughter echoing through the ancient trees, a comforting sound carried on the evening breeze. But Gilgamesh also knew sorrow. He tasted the bitter sting of loss, the wrenching pain of mortality. The death of Enkidu, his closest companion, left an indelible mark upon his soul. It was a wound that wouldn't fully heal, a constant reminder of the fleeting nature of life. This loss, this profound grief, spurred him on a long journey, a quest not for glory or riches, but for something far more precious, the secret to immortality. He sought out Utnapishtim, the survivor of a great flood, a man who had been granted eternal life. His journey took him across vast deserts, treacherous mountains, and deep, dark oceans. Each step was a step closer to understanding the human condition, to accepting the inescapable truth of our own mortality. Imagine him walking those ancient paths, the weight of his quest heavy on his shoulders, yet his spirit still ablaze with hope. He learned much on his travels, not just about the possibility of immortality, but about the simple joys of life. He learned the importance of friendship, of loyalty, of perseverance. He learned that even a king, even the strongest of men, is ultimately vulnerable. He learned that the meaning of life isn't found in endless life, but in the richness of the life we live. The laughter, the love, the struggles, the losses, these are the threads that weave the tapestry of our existence, making it uniquely ours. And so, as you drift off to sleep tonight, carry with you the wisdom of Gilgamesh. Remember his strength, his courage, his unwavering quest for meaning. Remember his friendship, his grief, his acceptance. Remember that even in the face of mortality, life remains beautiful, precious, and full of wonder. Let the quiet strength of his story cradle you into a peaceful slumber. Let the rhythmic flow of the Euphrates, a gentle whisper in your mind, lull you into sweet dreams. Good night.